I was actually working a part-time job, and the crazy part is I had my radio on the whole time, and I just turned my radio off, and my phone rang, and it was Sergeant Fitzsimmons screaming, something to the extent, "God help me, please help me, Dave's been shot." And being high-speed, low drag, I said, "I'm coming to you."
Welcome back, viewers, watchers, listeners. I'm your host, Tyler Owen.
Clint McNear.
How was your drive down this morning?
It was awesome. Left Forney at 5:30.
I started to call you because I figured you were up.
Rolled out at 5:30. Got here at 8:30. It was smooth.
You and I, and John Sariga, Chris Bios, and Ken Gardner, and our beautiful spouses just got back from the National Law Enforcement Officer Hall of Fame event there in Fort Worth. You and I got to hang out together on a Friday night. It was a great time. Got to see some good friends.
Yep, it was cool.
Yeah.
Tony Godwin out of Garland. Kyle Reyes at Law Enforcement today. Lloyd Cook over at Fort Worth POA.
Yep. Aaron Slater was there with Relentless.
Aaron Slater, I've heard of that guy.
Yeah, he's kind of a big deal. I mean, but hey, I got to tell this funny story. So I'm not really the greatest at doing laundry. So I want you guys to kind of picture this. We get home Sunday. We went and visited some family there in the Metroplex, and I'm driving through Austin traffic. And we've all been through, like, SWAT operations or patrol where your underwear kind of get salty and nasty, and they kind of start bunching up right between, like, your legs where you're sitting down. I'm not going to say the area, but it starts with a T. Cops know what I'm talking about. So I'm driving down the interstate or the highway today, and I start feeling like this weird feeling like something's caught up in it. And I was like, what the hell's wrong? My daughter did my laundry yesterday. She's 11, Vivian. Shout out to Vivian Owen. And I start driving down, and so picture this. I'm on the phone. People are around me, and I'm sticking my hands all the way down trying to grab and untangle whatever is going down in there. And I'm not talking about it's attached to me. I can tell it's clothing, you sick-minded people. And I pull out a sock that has some way, somehow entangled itself inside my underwear. But I'm sure the people next to me was probably thinking, what in the hell is wrong with this guy in this Ford F-250? I just want to give you that mental picture.
So you said you don't change your underwear that often, so you put a sock down there for skid marks?
No, I pulled it out. No. That is not preventative maintenance. I don't do that. But it was just kind of a weird situation. Typical Tyler Owen morning.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Who we got on today?
We got two guys from my hood, two Richardson PD guys, proud to have on. I'm excited to talk about a couple of topics with them.
I am too.
Intro yourselves, fellas.
Victor Diaz, been with Richardson PD 17 years, been on the SWAT team since 2011, and just excited to be here.
Yeah. And you brought on a guest that you reached out and said, hey, I got a buddy of mine. You didn't say he was a friend of yours. You said he was your mentor. And
yeah,
so we in law enforcement don't do that quite often and say, hey, I want to highlight this guy, and kudos to you for doing that.
Yeah, Jerry was one of my field training officers back in 2006, 2007. And 30 years on SWAT, just got off in January. Longest serving SWAT dude in our city's history. Pretty huge accomplishment and very, very well-respected guy amongst the team and amongst many others. So, yeah.
Jerry, welcome to the Blue Grease Cage.
Hey, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
How long have you been with Richardson?
June will start 33 years.
Wow.
33.
Wow. Well, we typically kind of like to kick off the podcast with talking about where you're from. Who the hell's Jerry? Who the hell's Victor? And then we'll just kind of start from there. Victor, why don't you go first?
So I was born in California. My dad moved us out of Texas when I was 16.
Oh, God.
We're at in Cali.
Rural small town called Watsonville, just about 90 miles south of San Francisco on the coast, in between Monterey and Santa Cruz.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yep. So
beautiful area, man.
Very, very nice area. He saw the writing on the wall before all of us did, and best decision he ever made.
South of Big Sur?
North.
North of Big Sur.
About 20 minutes.
Oh, that's a beautiful area, man.
Yeah, it is.
That was probably about, from our house, I don't know, maybe 30, 25 minutes to Pebble Beach.
Wow,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
My son was at Monterey for 18 months for language school, and God, it's gorgeous out there.
Yeah, very nice.
Aside from the politics.
Yeah, but, yeah, love Texas. I've been here ever since, and right after 9/11, joined the Army Reserve, kind of did that thing for a while. 2008, went to Iraq, came back. 2012, went to Afghanistan, came back. Both times I was employed by Richardson PD, and they were phenomenal in that process. I think in 2008, I think there was 3 of us deployed at one time.
What was your most in the Army?
Military police. So never got to do that job overseas though. So, but it was good. Joined the PD in 06. Did 8 years on patrol. Went up to be a detective. Did that thing for a while, and for the last almost 3 years, been assigned to the Dallas FBI's Violent Crime Task Force.
That's awesome.
Any law enforcement in your family? What made you go the law enforcement route?
Zero military, 0 law enforcement. The closest thing we had was my older brother. He was a probation officer counselor in Santa Clara County, and he worked more starting out his career in the counseling aspect of it, and then it shifted years later, but just always had a draw to it. Just something about going into these unknown calls and being somebody that people can rely on to help get through a situation. Just kind of resonated with me, and I think after I joined the Army, it definitely pointed me in the right direction.
Go to COG for police academy?
Went to Council of Governments there in Arlington, class 185.
They run a pretty tight ship over there. COG does.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was good times.
I mean, it's no Garland.
Well, we were excommunicated. We were a part of Tri-City with Plano, Richardson, and Garland, and we were evicted out of there, I think.
So Garland never, they haven't always ran their own academy?
We ran our own in-house with
Okay.
with Plano and Richardson, and then
you.
we were evicted about 94, 95, and so we moved and moved somewhere else.
I got you. So what year did you start on patrol with Richardson again?
2007.
Okay. And we were just talking about this, how much it's grown and how much it's changed since then. You probably seen it yourself going through those transitions.
Yeah, I didn't think that the city could grow much when I got hired on. I thought we were pretty
Landlocked,
built out, but we have found the ability to find any patch of dirt and put something on it.
Yeah, grow up and grow out.
Apartments, 5-story apartments, and just, the whole city line area with State Farm and all of that's just been phenomenal growth for the city.
Well, and being an older city, it's going through a change now of kind of redevelopment rather than just like Frisco that they're in their first build out. Richardson's kind of in their second evolution of trying to figure it all out.
Yeah, with the building of our new police station a couple years ago, that was phenomenal. I mean, we were using closets in the old building as offices because we were just so maxed out. But this new building, every time I bring somebody over there that's never been there, they just kind of look with eyes wide open saying, this place looks awesome.
Is it solely a police department or is it shared with fire?
It's just us. Fire's right next to us with their own building.
I thought you had to be in the old police building wearing the baby blue uniforms forever.
that was Jerry when he started.
That was French blue.
French blue, I'm sorry.
Get it right.
Talcum powder baby blue.
Yes, sir.
So you came on Richardson and then you met Jerry.
Yeah, he was my second phase field training officer. Obviously a SWAT guy at that time, very highly respected by everybody. And they just said, be prepared. He's gonna push you. And I think Jerry tends to forget that, like, when he's training a rookie, we don't know what he knows, and we're way slower than he is.
Yeah.
So a lot of times he'd stack us 3-4 calls deep, and they're report calls, and then we get off at 10. It's 8 o'clock, and he's wanting to go back and knock out 4 or 5 reports, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I can't type that fast.
Yeah.
It's funny. My first phase, I had a guy that was really laid back training. My second phase was a SWAT guy. Reminds me a lot of Jerry. And so I went from kind of laid back, hey, you're new, get a feel for it, to my second phase who was like, what color shirt that guy have on? I'm like, oh shit, what guy? And he's like, the guy we just passed 5 minutes ago that you didn't pay attention to, what color shirt do you have on? I'm like, I don't even know. What intersection are we at? I'm like, I don't even know. I'm still trying to figure out where that guy was that you just.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Tell us about you, Jerry. We grew up, born.
I was born in Lone Star, Texas, a little town in East Texas. And within the year, my parents moved to Dallas for job opportunities, where my dad took a job with TI. And so I pretty much spent my whole entire life in Garland, the city of Garland.
That's nothing more Texan than growing up in Lone Star. Being
Lone Star,
Lone
Texas,
Star,
absolutely.
It'll take a while to guess. Some of your family probably worked at Lone Star Steel.
Absolutely. Grandparents
There you go.
did, absolutely. Grandparents and cousins.
Yeah. So for those listening, that is on the edge, my old neck of the woods, right there north by Lone Star Lake, north on Lake of the Pines, right there. Y'all are in, I believe, not Cass County, but it is Delta County or anyway, it's a beautiful country.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Beautiful country.
That's where the liquor store is you'd go to before you go to the lake, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Allegedly.
yeah.
So
moved to Dallas. What started your career in law enforcement? Did you have family in it, or what?
no
what
family
led
in
that
it.
path?
No family in it. I got a job at Kroger's right there in downtown Garland, and spent most of my time just fighting with shoplifters. So
you're like the loss prevention guy.
yes, I was a manager, but I was loss prevention too as well. Did everything and just continuously fighting with shoplifters. So at that point, I decided might as well go ahead and join the force somewhere.
Garland and Walnut.
Walnut Garden, yes, sir. Right down the street from your jail.
I imagine that was busy.
It absolutely was.
It's crazy.
So how long did you do? How long were you at Kroger?
Worked there 10 years.
Wow, no kidding.
10 years, 16 to right at 26.
Wow. So went into police work at 26.
Yes, sir.
And back then, y'all were still COG?
Yes, absolutely.
And,
I was BCAPS 117 or 113. It's been a minute.
Yeah. And that was what year?
92.
Okay. And what, hit patrol, I guess, deep nights patrol or evening
spent
shift patrol probably?
Probably first 12 years on deep nights. Then I went to a power shift, 5P to 3A. And when that collapsed, I went back to an evening shift. So I've spent most of my career doing evenings work, and I've spent all 32 years working the streets. I never left the streets up till the February when I went to our community relations due to a shoulder injury.
Wow. And how long had you been on when you hit SWAT?
I'd been on 2 years.
Oh, wow.
That's quick.
Yeah, well, one of the things we didn't do in SWAT, we never recruited. They wanted people to have to be motivated to put in for it. And right at 2 years of service, I was recruited, and come to find out there had been a little fallout of the department. Half the guys had quit. You know, I thought I was special, but they didn't have anybody. So they asked me to put in. Yeah, they asked me to put in, and I put in and made it, and been on there ever since.
And Richardson's probably similar to Garland and Plano. You are not full-time SWAT. That's an extra duty, requires extra time, extra training. Is that right?
Absolutely. We're a part-time team, but we're on call 24/7, 365.
And probably back then when you guys were training, I'm just going out there on a whim, but Richardson's always been competitive. But did you guys, when you started off with SWAT, did you even get compensated for the SWAT training? And I mean, just like it is now, or was it kind of like volunteer time?
So we did a lot of stuff volunteer. You know, we got our paid training days, but we did a lot of stuff off the clock, a lot of research, a lot of our own things off the clock.
Pre-training and stuff like that for the
Absolutely,
days.
absolutely. Continuously doing something.
What all spots on SWAT team have you had?
I volunteered, and I got to become the gas chemical guy. So chemical munitions, distraction devices, less lethal, firearms instructor, and then throughout the year, just other things in teaching.
So for the non-law enforcement listener out there listening, that is a huge responsibility, because ATF, and who keeps track of all the is it ATF logs that you got to keep?
ATF, yes.
So these guys, you're at that position.
Yeah.
You have to keep very detailed notes and track an inventory of what goes in, what comes out, who has what and when, because you're on the SWAT team. You most likely have stuff issued to you that has that tracking, and you have to keep track of all that.
Yes,
so talk
sir.
about the details in that.
Just the main thing is that, you know, like the distraction devices, that's classified as a Class C explosive, and you'd have to fill out an ATF letterhead to get it. They would ship it, and then we would save all the serial numbers. So at any given time, if they came and asked for a particular distraction device, this is a serial number, where is it? We'd have to say, is it deployed in a training exercise or, an actual event, a call out?
If you can't find it, there's a Dear Chief letter.
Absolutely. There could be a Dear Chief letter in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But just maintaining and keeping up.
And you were assigned that how long after you made SWAT?
That's about my third year into the team.
That's a big responsibility. So 5-year cop, now you're in charge of all the.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is y'all's system kind of set up like some where when you're a rookie, you're like rear guard and kind of the grunt, and then you can progress up to getting in the stack and progress up to point or sniper? Is that kind of how you guys
when I hired on,
operate?
When I first got on the team, we should have had a 16-man team. Like I said, there was a little bit of falling out. Not really sure what happened, but our team dropped down to about 8 guys.
Wow.
So when I got on the team, it was, hey, man, follow the most senior guy in the stack because you're making entry. So my first call I was making entry.
Wow.
Damn.
And how big's y'all's team now?
we're 24 now with 6 snipers. So
Nice.
18 on entry, 6 snipers, 2 TLs, commander, and then we got 6 SWAT medics from the fire department
Nice.
that are TAC meds that roll with us.
And you both, which one of you have served as a sniper on the team?
I'm currently a sniper.
I just had a conversation with a media outlet, and it was here in the Austin area, and the word sniper. You know, a local citizen or law enforcement thinks, you know, the worst of the worst as far as that name. But talk about really what a sniper does is the overwatch for the team, and talk about really why you're there.
Yeah, you know, a lot of times it's all in the game of words, right? You can say sniper, you can say observer, you know, whatever you want to say. But in reality, we've got special tools and weapons that are going to allow us to dial in and zoom and see what the team can't see. When I'm at, 20 power on my scope, I might be able to see through a window and might be able to say something that's going to launch that team based on that person inside hurting somebody else. Or maybe we don't need to escalate. Maybe we need to tone it down just based on what we see. So, 99.9999% of the time we're observing and we're reporting back what we see, and we're given updates on movements. And that's pretty much it. So, the cool guy,
getting intel. Yeah,
exactly. The cool guy stuff that you see on TV is, it couldn't be
any farther from the truth.
We're prepared for it, but it's really not what our everyday call outs are.
Right.
And really, you are kind of the opposite of what people think of a sniper. You are preservation of life, the person's life, potential other victims to be harmed inside the objectives to save their life, officers outside. I mean, preservation of life, everybody thinks, oh, sniper, they're up there to hurry up and shoot and kill somebody. And really, it's preservation of life to not have to do that based on your observations.
Yeah, when you go through our tryouts and stuff like that, there's an oral board process, and they do talk a lot about, is it important to be really good at intelligence gathering, or, do you think you should come on the team being a trained shooter? And you can teach a lot of people to shoot, but you can't teach a lot of people to be patient and observe and, have restraint. And I think, speaking for our team, you look at our guys, we're pretty good suited in that area.
Well, and you got to be. You get up on a rooftop sitting. What's the longest you've sat on a rifle up there?
Probably the longest I've sat would probably be our line of duty death with Dave Sherrard. Myself and Ed Blanco were set up on sniper, and I think we were out there about 4 hours.
It's a long time to be prone out sitting on.
Yeah.
Fatigue sets in and cramps and
stress and
Yep. Yeah, we had another guy join us a little bit later, James Schumann. He was actually in the apartment when it happened, but he ended up grabbing his gear and coming over and partnering up with me. And it's nice when you're in teams. That's obviously ideal to be two, but sometimes you're it is what it is, and you're solo.
Yeah, and I know you both have been through it, but when you have a high stress, when you've had that dump of adrenaline, and then you have to go sit on a perimeter or go sit up when we had the May event, the terrorist event there in Garland, they thought that was just a distraction attack, and there was going to be some secondary attacks. And so a lot of the guys involved in that shooting had to sit on a perimeter for 3 or 4 hours, concerned about was there a secondary attack. And they were calling me on the phone, hey, you need to get us a lawyer rolling out here. I'm like, why are you whispering in my ear? And they were all sitting on a perimeter after being involved in this high-stress shooting. And we'll dive into David here in a minute, but people don't understand some of the discipline that it takes to go through, get that emotion and that adrenaline to rein back in, and then, okay, now I've got to sit on this rifle and be calm for 4 hours and process what I just know is going on, or not take my frustration out and want to shoot the bad guy because I'm frustrated. A lot of discipline in SWAT, which is very counter to what people think of SWAT. Oh, they're just a bunch of workout fiends that just want to go thump somebody, and there's a whole lot of training and technique and discipline goes into it, which I'm extremely proud to see that people get to see, especially in some of these SWAT competitions.
Well, You were the old, I guess the old, and I mean this very respectfully.
Yes, sir.
The oldest team member of Richardson.
Yes, sir.
Tenured.
Tenured member. Talk about the changes. You know, we had Lieutenant Dan with Garland on, and TTPOA president. How long ago? A couple months ago.
Yeah, a couple months ago. Dino,
and he had talked about the evolution and the changes within Garland and the tactical world. But talk about the changes and what makes you most proud to see where you were with your agency and how far y'all have come with tactics, equipment, training, and so forth.
The biggest changes I've seen is when I hired on in '92 was the equipment to where we are to date. Back then, a lot of our vests were military surplus, and I don't even know if they had an expiration. I don't even know if there was an expiration date. But we had like 5 entry-level vests that the guys making entry, the first 5 in, they wore, and then the rest of us just put any other type of vest that one size fits all, and it's basically one size fits none. And then back then with the equipment, we had a wide range of equipment. We had 5 MP5s, several H&K 93s, Benelli shotguns. At the time we had SIGs, which we converted over to Glocks. But we just had a wide range of just weaponry, and we didn't have night sights. We didn't have red dots, aim points. Didn't have flashlights. So when we made the stack, it'd be the pistol guy up front, followed by a rifle guy, because the pistol guy had to carry a flashlight, to light up the rooms. And like I said, our old helmets, the webbing was so dry rotted, the helmet just basically sat on top of your head. And back in the day, in the 90s, we responded to a lot of suicidal subjects. I've been on, standoffs with suicidal subjects, 12, 13, 14 hours. One in particular had cranked off a round at us through a window. This started around 7 p.m. and ended noon the next day when she finally surrendered. And you're talking about fatigue and sleep deprivation and all those. And then this particular night was extremely cold outside, drizzling rain, and we had no cold weather gear. So I sat in the backyard with a trash can lid over my head, just trying to stay out of the elements, just freezing all night long.
And you have fatigue, boredom, all of that set in, and then at a moment's notice, you're going to be demanded, not expected, demanded to act precision with accuracy, making the right call in 1 split second. So maybe sitting for 14 hours, and then if they shoot a hostage or they do something that provokes y'all in 1 split second, you have to go from I've been sitting for 14 hours under a trash can lid to exact precision execution of something.
Death.
Absolutely. And you go through the adrenaline dumps. They're coming out. You get all amped up. Then they don't come out. Then you got to go through that lull where fatigue sets in again. And then you get that adrenaline dump that they're coming, and you're just waiting for it to hurry up and end. After that, we started looking at our fatigue factor, putting guys on perimeter that long. And then we started coming up with a more adaptive gas plan that, hey, after 3 hours, kind of draw the line in the sand, just getting a little response out of them.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, fatigue was setting in. And the other thing is the calls don't stop. There's still a city to run. We're still answering calls. It doesn't slow down for that one scenario.
Yeah, for part-time teams, it's crucial. Is Garland SWAT? They're part-time.
Yep.
So process this. We are in a huge recruitment and retention crisis right now. How short are y'all on patrol?
We're actually getting better. We're probably about, I would think, about 8 overall. But there for a while, it was pretty bad.
Yeah,
it was
so
real bad.
you've got patrol guys that now have to shift your manpower around. You've got how many people on the SWAT team?
24.
24. So 2 teams. I would assume 2 part-time teams. Is that what it essentially is?
Pretty much an A team, B team, yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. I'm assuming Jerry was on the A team.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So you've got all these factors that people just think that you roll up, you look sexy in these nice tactical shit, and your high speed, low drag stuff, but you've got other stuff. Were you in a command position with the SWAT team, or were you just
I was an assistant team leader on entry.
Yeah, so you've got to think, but you're processing all this as this thing is going on. You've got manpower, then you've got your patrol captains and lieutenants that are bitching, going, how soon is this going to end?
Right. Absolutely.
And then you've got that pressure. But people don't realize, even cops, they don't realize and recognize when tactical situations are going on for a very lengthy period of time. Yeah. There's calls for service building up. You got grandma that says, there's a suspicious vehicle in my neighborhood, and I want it answered right now. And you've got all these things that you have to answer to with your command staff. The city's calling to the chief, and now you have to answer the chief. Yeah. So the stress level, being in a leadership role on a tactical team is very stressful.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing too is, we got a guy inside the house with a firearm, threatening to shoot or shooting off rounds. Now we're evacuating the neighborhoods. Now we're shutting down the streets. Now we got people calling City Hall complaining that they can't get down their street. There's just a wide variety of complaints that go along with it.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're early enough back in the day where you had to do a lot of crap yourself. Who was y'all's MacGyver on the team?
We got a guy named Paul Ecker. He's the one that come up and fixed. He was the one. We had two actually, Sergeant Ellis and Paul Ecker. They were always trying to fix stuff. Our raid van at the time was a bread truck, and there had been times we'd have a wrecker. The guys getting back in the bread truck would attach to the bread truck and pull it down the street because it wouldn't start. So it was kind of comical. No AC, no heating, and back then we'd go sit outside the target location and wait for the warrant to be signed. Well, you may sit out there for 4 hours, and it's 100 degrees outside, and you're in all this tactical gear.
Bread truck with no AC?
No AC, yeah. So
ours was Dino at Garland, and it was back before, there was no SWAT equipment. It was extra military gear like you guys were talking about. And somebody came up and said, yeah, we need an armored car before, Bearcats and all that. And Dino shows up with an armored bank car, like just old square,
sure,
ugly, square-bodied, and Chief's like, where'd that come from? Dino's like, nope, you don't want to know, don't ask. And Dino and a couple other guys were like the MacGyvers, and they took that armored bank car and put running boards and handles so you could, do officer down rescues and deploy off of it, and they were always tinkering. But back then, before some of the funding and the technology came around, every team had the MacGyver that could figure out how to fix something, weld something. You make do with what you had to do to get the mission done.
Absolutely. We had a guy with an AK-47 having some issues, cranked off a few rounds, and an armored car. Our armored car that particular day was a trash truck that brought a dumpster out into the street and dumped it. So we hid behind it for a little while, realizing that that AK-47 is going to burn right through it.
Yeah.
So then at that point we backed off and started hiding behind car blocks, car engines, and bigger trees.
Our armored dumpster didn't work.
Yeah, it didn't work. But since then, obviously, we come a long, long ways. A lot better equipment. Matter of fact, yesterday we just got a brand new Bearcat.
Nice.
Awesome.
So we're doing very well now.
The mind does weird things, and it has like a kind of like a photo reel. So when you think back of all the years, on that SWAT team and just stepping off, I'm sure it was an emotional point the day that you kind of walked away from it. But can you remember just the flash points? That's just kind of, you think back of your tenured career. Notice I said that tenured career. With the SWAT team.
Yeah.
Talk about maybe some flash points. It could be bad, it could be sad, it could be great, but moments that you remember back on that team.
First off, I'll get back to when I wrote my letter of resignation. It took like 3 days, and it was 3 days of tears. It was probably the most difficult thing that I ever did because I felt like I was walking away from a brotherhood that, back on February the 7th, 2018, when we lost Gerard, and there was just a lot of gunfire, and everybody's running. We had 18 SWAT guys running to it, and to me, that was just very impressive. And I know we made Dave proud, but a lot of the raids we went on back then, everything was just speed, shock, violence of action, very, very dynamic. You got up to the front door, you slammed the door, and you were getting inside, and bangs were going off. And it was just the moment, it was the thrill, the adrenaline. But we were just a very aggressive team, and nowadays we're slowing things down. For my first 10 years, I've never heard of a knock and announce warrant. Had no idea what that was. Why anybody would do that is beyond me. But just the dynamics of the tactics and going in after people.
And it's really, really changed from the dynamic fast speed and violence to like the surrounding call-outs. And some of the older guys, tenured guys.
Absolutely.
Slowing down, calling out. I get it, but it's hard to understand for a while because it seems like, well, it's the softer approach.
Yeah.
And, we don't call in and ask the criminal to politely come out. And I completely get it. And police work's changed, and it continues, and it will always change. But it's really hard at times
Absolutely.
to wrap your mind around it or accept it.
When I went to the alert school, we would slam the door to make entry, and they were doing this, let the room breathe. while they were letting the room breathe, I was already clearing the room. I was inside. It was just, it was hard to get that mindset. And now, when I hired on, it was always a new guy that got to go up there and slam the door. Now, we're using explosive breaches. We're sending the drones, sending the robots. All that was things that we just simply didn't had.
Yeah.
We sent in people.
About what year did you guys start doing explosive breach?
Probably the last 6 years.
I think maybe like 2012-ish, somewhere.
It's been a while, but yeah.
Yeah. I know a lot of our guys got with Tease and Tony over in Garland, and they got on it probably a little more progressive than a lot of other places.
Yeah, and God bless CT Payne. We lost CT Payne about a month ago, who was really on the forefront of explosive breaching. They consulted with him the night of the Dallas 5 about putting that charge on the robot and sending it down range. He was one of the people they consulted on how to kill that guy. Losing CT Payne was giant, but we were on a SWAT call. I was a patrolman on the perimeter, and it was really in the first just early minutes of us playing with explosive breaching. And I'm a dumb patrolman way out on the perimeter, and I could tell from the lingo that they were tired of sending ferret rounds into the house, and they said they were going to set a charge on the rear metal aluminum garage door. And there was an explosion, went off like a 500-pound bunker buster, landed next to me. And when we got up there to the house, there's this mangled, there's not a piece of garage door much bigger than this. There's metal everywhere. And I remember CT and some of those guys were like, may have gotten it a little hot, may have had that charge just a little. But early on, it was kind of a try it and figure it out as you go. But I think a lot of these techniques are going to save some cops' lives. And I think it's some Jetson stuff. My buddy Collins, like 2 or 3 years ago, said, I went on a warrant in Grand Prairie, and we stood outside, and they sent a drone in, and we're watching it, and the drone flies up to the guy, and we had Herbert Oubre on from the Pearland, and they're the tip of the spear in drone activity. And he said they're sending drones in, and people are surrendering to the drone because they just don't know, or they don't know if it's armed. And I thought, you know what? If it keeps David Sherrard from happening and some moron wants to surrender to a drone, it's not as sexy as going in and getting to drag some gangbanger out of their house. But if it saves a buddy's life, man, and they want to surrender to a drone, then hell yeah, let's get on with it.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. When I first started on too, we did our intel on the scouting report. We designated rooms, if the suspect was in the house, and 90% of the time he was in the back bedroom, the master bedroom. Our first 2 guys went straight to the master bedroom. And I was on one of the entries where the guy laying in the kitchen with the living room floor. We jumped over him to get to the back bedroom. That's just how fast we're moving. And now we've just slowed it down tremendously.
And I think that the more that, there's so much more planning, I think, that goes into operations than it did before.
Absolutely.
And I think the communication, you being on the FBI's Violent Task Force and you being a tactical operator, you have the mindset when you're building this investigation that that if a search warrant is going to be executed, in the back of your mind what questions you're going to ask a CI. What questions that you're going to ask people involved as far as the suspects on how to prepare your case. Because let's face it, it's now come down to you presenting your case to the team leadership of the SWAT team and saying, okay, guys, A, B, C, D, you guys have a checklist of if you're going to do a breach?
Absolutely.
So there's a checklist now, majority of the teams, where it's basically says where they weigh the risk and the reward of the safety of the team, the suspects, and then everyone involved. If there's going to be children, there's going to be firearms. So all these things kind of come into play. And I think that the tactical teams across America have done a really good job of communicating with I love our dope guys, but they for a long time they really didn't communicate that well with the tactical teams. Mm-hmm. And I think that we're all on the sheet of music now to where I think the dope guys know what the TAC team expects. They respect what the TAC team expects. They know so it's a big communication, and communication, more of it, can never hurt anything.
Yeah. And I think that's what we did too. We were jeopardizing officer safety over a dope arrest.
Yeah.
Over gathering that evidence. For what?
You built your case.
What he built our case. Yeah. And speaking of the drones, we served a warrant on a murder suspect, I guess about 2 years ago, just inside Garland. And we breached the door with the Bearcat, sent the drone in, and this guy shoots the drone. And that there's probably no doubt in our mind if we would have put that entry team in first, he would have probably shot someone on entry.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, this guy's going back to prison for the rest of his life. He absolutely has nothing to lose.
Was there a skepticism? I'm sure there was people skeptical about the drone aspect, and I'm sure that probably changed because the same thing happened with Herbert.
Absolutely.
He said the guys on the team were not receptive to the change and the evolution of how the tactics are. And there was a very similar situation that happened down there in Pearland or the regional SWAT team that they've got. But until that happened, and until they saw the safety aspect of, oh, shit, we're losing a $500 drone versus a man's life or a woman's life.
Right.
That's what it got everybody on board to be like, okay, yeah, we need to start slowing down, utilizing equipment and doing technology.
Right. And once this individual shot the drone, he then shot the Bearcat. I mean, he wasn't going to stop, so we immediately started implementing gas and brought him out to our playground, which was a lot safer because we're, taking cover and concealment behind the Bearcat.
Yeah.
So
technology is the other great asset that we have on our side. I can remember doing a search warrant. You drive by, get the description, and then you go back, and they go, all right, what do you think the layout out of the house is? Well, I'm assuming that window's a bedroom, and I'm assuming that one is a dining room window. Well, there's so much technology out there now, or get on Zillow or whatever, you're going to find a floor plan of the house, interior pictures. You're going to find, and man, so much of it back then was, well, I kind of think the living room would be in the back left, I think. And, I mean, there was a lot of it back then that was kind of a wild-ass guess.
A lot of cities have implemented, whether they were grandfathered in or not, but you've got to provide your building plans now. So now, thank God, that even the ones that are houses that are built back in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, some of those house plans are being developed. Redesigns or remodels, you have to resubmit those to the city now to have those. So those are also things that go into play with tactical operations and trying to get those. So, probably one of your darkest days, you just mentioned a while ago, was the loss of Sherrod. If you guys kind of want to start off with how that day started, and talk about the planning and everything that took place that day.
Yeah, I was actually working a part-time job, and the crazy part is I had my radio on the whole time, and I just turned my radio off, and my phone rang, and it was Sergeant Fitzsimmons screaming, something to the extent, God help me, please help me, Dave's been shot. And being high-speed, low drag, I said, I'm coming to you. I didn't even get an address. I was just running to my car so quick to get to him, and I went to the station at that point to pick up some chemicals, and that's why I was able to pick up the address. And I guess the fire department guys already knew about it because they heard about the transport, that he had been shot, and it was pretty serious in nature. And they were yelling for me to go get him, and I'm going, I guess news travels fast because they already knew about it. So the funny thing is, it's not really funny, but when I got on scene, one of the sergeants come up, and I said, who got shot? And he said, it's Dave. And I said, how is he? And he goes, oh, he's just fine. He got shot in the leg. And I said, oh, my God, he's going to have a funny story to tell. What this sergeant didn't want to tell me that he knew Dave was already deceased. So he was wanting for me to stay focused. And I'm thinking, he had just a kind of funny story to say, to tell us after it was all said and done. And when I made the comment about, I bet he's got a funny story to tell, the sergeant just went pale white. And I knew at that point something was wrong. So I called a good friend of mine, and I said, hey, can you get up to the hospital, Conrad, and check on Dave? And it seemed like within 15 minutes he's up there. And he said, Dave didn't make it. And I said, didn't make what? It was, I figured he had a little flesh wound, something they put a Band-Aid on, and they just went back to the station. And he said, well, Dave's gone. My attitude was in, gone where? Still not sinking in. And at that point he said, he's dead. And that's when it really sank in that I think that changed a lot of my views back then. That particular moment changed a lot of things about, it lets you know the job's real now. After 25 plus years of serving on the team and then losing one of your buddies. But still, I was one of the first guys on the scene, and still just seeing all the guys running to get to Dave, running to get to the apartment, doing whatever it takes to bring this thing down.
Tell our listeners, what was that? Was that a call? Was that a SWAT service? What was that call? It
was a call, disturbance, shots fired. They said they'd heard shots fired from the complex. A little bit of breakdown in communication. They told them it was in this building over here. They're over searching the building, and then a guy comes up and says, hey, you're at the wrong building. It's over here. And when he pointed to the building, and they started making the ascent up to the third floor, that's when they encountered the first suspect, the guy had actually shot. And he was on the landing, and he was already deceased. And at that point, they had intel that there was another victim inside an apartment, and they pointed to the apartment, and they were actually going in to do a welfare check, looking for this secondary victim, not knowing it was the actual suspect that was barricaded, not barricaded, but it was an ambush-style attack. Just laying in the hallway, waiting for the first officer to come through the door.
And Dave was on patrol at this
And
point?
Dave was on patrol, yes, sir.
He go over there and kill like a family member, or
Yeah, the individual had moved in with a good friend of his. He was pretty much down on his luck, homeless. He had moved in with a friend and his mom. It's my understanding they were kicking him out over possibly stealing stuff from the apartment.
so he shot his buddy. That's who was on the landing.
Yes, sir. He ended up shooting his buddy, and his buddy made it out to the landing, and that's where he collapsed.
And patrol shows up, thinks secondary victims inside, so they're going to push through, check on them, and that's when they get ambushed.
Yes, sir.
And Dave was first through.
Dave was first through, yes, sir.
And my understanding is he went down and had to be extracted, or they pulled him back out.
He was able to exit the apartment on his own, but once he got outside, he collapsed pretty quick. And at that point, they went into officer down, officer rescue, and picked him up and carried down to the first landing, where paramedics immediately started working him.
I'm trying to think. Either that was y'all's first in a long time, or is that one of y'all's only line of duties?
It's our only.
That's the only line of duty death. That's our
No
first
kidding.
one. Yes,
And
sir.
Richardson's been around forever.
Yeah.
Yep.
When?
Yeah, 55.
55 years.
Well,
One line
since
of duty.
1955.
Oh, since 55.
Yeah.
I was going to guess 50 or 55 because I think Garland's about 50 or 55.
Yeah.
One in that time. Wow. Well, and one thing too, everybody thinks Richardson's this massive city because y'all butt up to Dallas. Y'all are what, 180, 200 man?
We're 173, 75.
So y'all are tight.
28 square miles ish.
So y'all are 170 man, unlike Dallas or Houston. You know everybody.
Right.
I mean, you know every officer that works there.
Absolutely.
Were you on that night?
I just got home. Actually, I just saw Dave. We have a wildflower festival, outdoor music festival. We went to go do a sniper scout, and we chatted it up, and he continued his patrol shift. I went home, wasn't home very long, and got a cell phone call from a CID partner who said, "Hey, there's been a shooting. Are you guys coming?" And right about that time, our phones are going off for the SWAT page. So I haul ass into the station, link up with the rest of the team to get on the truck to head out, grab my sniper gear. And like Jerry said, the FD already knew, and we got the message that he had died. So when we were in the truck headed out there, we already knew that he had been killed. And as soon as I got on scene, linked up with the LT and said, "I'm going to go set up," and he said, "Just shoot me a thumbs up, or on the radio, give me a push when you're set." Ed Blanco went and set up as well, and then both of us were out there. Crazy thing is James Schumann, he was in the apartment. He made entry with Dave, and he was on that initial team set up on the landing, and they started relieving people, and they said, "Hey, where's all your gear? Go get your sniper gear." So he goes back, grabs all his gear, eventually links up with me, has no clue what's happened other than that Dave got sent off in an ambulance, and he kept pushing, and I had to be the one to tell him, like, right then and there that, what had happened. And I very, very thankful for Chief Spivey. Probably never told him this, but, like, he had so much confidence and faith in the professionalism of our team that I know Plano and other teams offered to take over. And he said, "Well, we'll do a transition when enough time is elapsed, and it's that proper time. But right now, my guys can do the job." And everybody carried themselves professionally and did what we trained to do, and were professional about it. And it sucked, but just do what you got to do.
As soon as it happened, calls came in for legal. So I went to Plano Hospital where they took Dave, and Tony Reich went out to the scene to start making sure you guys had water or whatever he could do to support and make sure y'all had an attorney in or out there. And it was kind of surreal being at the hospital because I was in Little Elm when Jerry got killed. All very, very similar deal, extremely similar. Because I get to Little Elm while it's still hot, and I'm like, "What's going on? What happened?" Well, a SWAT officer, one of the guys, super respected guy, just like Dave, super respected, got shot. And I'm like, "Well, where's everybody at?" Well, they're still all out there having to be on the scene, set up a perimeter, trying to figure out. And Tony Reich went to the scene on that when I went to the PD to be with the shooters. And, man, it's really hard. It's really hard, and I want our listeners to understand that aren't in law enforcement. If you saw someone shoot your sibling and then you're sitting on a perimeter and have the ability to do something really violent that would feel really good and make you feel better, to have the discipline to not do what you really, really would like to do, that's a challenge. And to go sit on a perimeter for 3-4 hours and not exert some personal revenge and some satisfaction takes a lot of discipline. And sometimes cops get a bad rap, or they think we're all, meathead machismo or whatever. But when you've just been told that one of your brothers is dead, and then you're going to sit on a perimeter for 4 hours, man, my heart goes out to you guys and Little Elm guys that went through it, because you'd really rather be doing a whole lot of other things, mourning or being with your police family or something, rather than sitting there on a rooftop or sitting in a stack waiting for somebody to tell you can go in.
Yeah, I think for a few minutes it was just so surreal that I just kind of went numb. And I remember telling the guys with Dave Chapman, just give me a minute. And at that point, I just took a few minutes to just think about the job we had to do now and, maintain the professionalism. And I told Dave, it's probably not going to be the right time to tell you, but Sherrard didn't make it. And now we have a job to do. And me and him were both on gas. So when they gave us the green light for the gas, we started implementing gas in that apartment. And the good thing is, at the end of it, we did our job the right way. We gassed this guy out. Our gas plan worked. This guy surrendered peacefully. He got his day in court, and he got a fair trial, and he got the death penalty.
Good.
So, but I can say with, our standards, we maintained our high standards.
And those are the story that doesn't get told.
That's right.
That's the story that doesn't get told. Because there could have been some circumstance where y'all could have needed to have killed him to have made it. You could have figured out some circumstances of go in there, push the issue, do something so that you can get a little payback on him. Y'all gassed him out. He surrendered. He went through the justice system.
Yeah.
A beautiful story of that sadness. The number 2 DA in Collin County, Bill Werski, showed up at the hospital that night, almost beat me out there. And I've known him since he was a prosecutor in Dallas. He's like, hey, man, what's up? I said, nothing. What are you doing here? He's like, just here to be with them. I don't want to be in their I don't want to be in their way. Yeah. I just want to be here. So I started asking around. There was a bunch of spouses out there, and everybody's phone's dying, and it's late in the middle of the night. There's nothing. And I said, what can I do? And they're like, I don't know. Do you have any phone chargers? So I told maybe Jimmy Holly or somebody. I said, I'll be back. So I walk into my truck, and Bill Werski, who, for our listeners don't know, is the first assistant district attorney for Collin County. He's the number 2 man in charge. He follows me out, and he's like, hey, where are you going? So I'm going to find somewhere open to get phone chargers, water, some snacks. He's like, well, hell, I'm going. And I said, no, you're important, dude. I'm a grunt doing this. You're important. He's like, nope, I'm doing this. So we rolled around and bought up all the phone chargers at CVS and Walgreens, and he's out there hauling cases of water, and he's like, dude, I don't know what to do here. I just felt like we needed to be here. And I said, no, I'm proud of you, and just being here is important. So when we got back, everybody's mourning and dealing with all the emotions of it, and some didn't know who he was. And I said, hey, I just want you guys to know that your number 2 in command at the district attorney's office is here to support you. And Bill may not appreciate me sharing this, but Bill said, I'm just here for you guys to support you. And if this guy lives through this event, I can promise you with all my heart that my only goal will be to ensure that he gets a needle stuck in his arm and he dies. And I was like, oh, dude, I'm in love with you right now at the moment. And the crowd went wild in the hospital. And it gave them at least some hope of some support and a show of love from somebody from the outside. And Bill's like, man, I hope that wasn't inappropriate. I was like, dude, you just gave them a little bright
support
spot
from the district attorney's office
for just a brief moment of love and cool moment in a horrible, tragic time.
I'll say this too. The suspect got a fair trial. Dave Sherrard didn't. But the only hope and saving grace was seeing how personal and how serious Bill took this in court. Because I'd never met the guy up till that day. but he took it personal and he did outstanding. And for a guy like Bill, you just can't say enough positive things about, because he did his homework. He knew the timelines. He studied. He knew everything about that case.
Good.
And he was very, very impressive. Him and his whole crew.
Yeah.
I mean, you could tell they did their homework, and you just can't say enough about the crew at Collin County.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Very good DA's office, and Bill's as solid of a man as they come.
Yep.
How for you guys, how do you navigate through that? You guys debrief that?
We did. We actually had several debriefs, and the city was so accommodating. We did them off-site, just the SWAT team. We did some with Patrol Integrated, just multiple different avenues to do a debrief. Offered, counseling services and things like that for anybody that needed it. I'm extremely, extremely proud of our agency and the way that they handled everything after that. Having never been through something like that, it just blown away that the support was there. I think I took off work I might have been off for 3, 4, 5 days. Nobody batted an eye. It was like, we understand. Do what you need to do, and then when you're ready, come back. And it probably didn't sink in till that next day. That whole time was just a blur, and then that next day is when it really sinks in. And just knowing that the agency's there and supporting, I think, is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, too, Chief Spivey did an outstanding job bringing us together. But more than anything, the SWAT guys, it did not destroy us. It just made us closer. It made us stronger. Dave was just one of those guys that, the next, I got off, I guess, around 1, 2 in the morning. I went back to work at 8 o'clock because I figured that's what Dave wanted. And it probably wasn't the best thing I could have done for myself, but I was trying at that point to live for Dave, because Dave would just tell me to get back to work.
Yeah.
And that's just the kind of guy Dave was.
Yeah. And we all heal differently.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Those are odd times when you lose a partner and lose somebody in law enforcement. You don't know how to react.
Right.
And I think a lot of people push ourselves to go back to work to fill that gap,
Absolutely.
Well, for a time back, 70s, 80s, when Richardson, that was the sensitive department, and people would come and go. Y'all would flex up with manpower, and then a bunch of people kind of leave out. There's no perfect chief, but watching Spivey and how the department and spouses interacted with Spivey that night at the hospital, he was the right man at that time, because there was a genuine, sincere family feeling. The way he was treated by everyone, spouses, family members, and how he cared. I mean, it was a really cool thing to watch, because let's face it, there's some chiefs that, they wouldn't have come out there, or is this going to be a hickey on the department, or does this look bad politically, or he was neck deep in the vault, in the middle of it, just like a patrolman out there, and was the right guy at the time.
Yeah, I think as much as it changed us, it changed him, because he even made the comment, I can't go through losing another. And, we all took it pretty personally. And that's, once again, we're a smaller PD, so everybody knows everybody. So,
speaking of Spivey, well, I want to ask you, for you personally, been around a long time, never lost a brother like that. Was there a period of time where you had to navigate through that? Was there a specific moment that helped you kind of open your eyes and work through it, or what was that like moving on after losing?
Man, it was rather difficult. I did okay, I guess. To me, my reactions, I think, were normal for an abnormal event. It was just some of the things, you fight through and you think about it. But more than anything, I tried to make it not about me, but I tried to make it about Dave. Yeah. And I know Dave would tell me, hey, man, heads up, get back to work, you have a job to do. And that's just kind of the guy Dave was. So at that point, just kind of living for him, making that, knowing we made Dave proud. Because like I said, the way that call ended with that suspect in custody, I know that would make Dave proud.
Yeah.
Because we didn't abuse his rights. We did our job did our job that night.
That's powerful.
And like I said, our command staff, even today, our command staff is very, very supportive. Our city councilor, our city manager, investing in a Bearcat after they saw that our Bearcat just, got shot when our drone got shot. And they've just been very, very supportive of the guys and gals at the department.
And you guys have been fortunate, because Spivey was great. Been around a long time, old school cat, good guy. And you guys have a really respected chief in Tittle.
Absolutely.
That he still strikes me too as the cop's cop. He remembers what it's like to be a cop.
He understands police work. Yes, sir. And it's confrontational regardless. I mean, you can only de-escalate so much. Yeah. De-escalation works when the bad guy lets it.
Yes.
And that's where
it's a two-way street, not a one-way street.
That's hard to find these days in administration within law enforcement.
Right.
Sadly.
I think we definitely got the
support,
the better hand on that one. You know, Chief Tittle came from Dallas PD after I think 30 plus years, and then came to us. And I mean, if you're at a big agency like Dallas with thousands of police officers, and then you come over to us with 173, I mean, it's probably pretty easy for him. He probably comes in less stressed, but we have no complaints, and he's just been phenomenal. The support of the team and the patrol aspect, our drone unit, I think we've got 15 drone pilots, and I don't know how many drones. We've got expensive drones, less expensive. So much technology they're bringing in, and if it's advancing policing and it's great, he's going to listen. He's not going to turn you away. And then let's make a decision on whether we want to move forward with this or not. So it's been great to have the chief support, and then we got a new city manager a couple of years ago, and he's been phenomenal. He was the one who kind of approved the purchase of the Bearcat with the support of the city council, and those were things that, you know, years ago we didn't really have a lot of support from the city, but like in today's today, I mean, it's very apparent. We are supported by our citizens, by our council, everybody, and it's a good feeling. It's a really good feeling.
I was in an FOP meeting recently with some Dallas PD guys. It's funny we're having this conversation because something came up about, they were talking about they have a good chief with Eddie Garcia, but they were talking about they really lost out. A good person losing Tittle to you guys. And it's fun, and that was like in the last 10 days. Talking about, man, Richardson stole one of our really good potentials someday, and it's funny. 10 days later, we sit here talking about this. Richardson's really evolved, and I mean in a really positive manner. When a lot of agencies can't say that in this current environment, you guys really been, despite the dark day, you guys have really advanced as a really professional, respected agency. Despite Jimmy Holly working there,
Jimmy Holly.
Despite Jimmy Holly, you guys really have advanced, and I love that guy.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy.
Well, we like to kind of end the episodes with 3 rapid fire questions. If you guys have studied up on them, I don't know if you. Obviously, I know Victor's watched the podcast, but Jerry, we'll start with you first.
Okay.
What's your favorite cop movie or line from a cop movie? What's your favorite police vehicle, and what is your favorite drink of choice?
I grew up on Beverly Hills Cop, and when you see Beverly Hills Cop as a young guy prior to being in the police work, you think it's all about all the fun surveillance stuff and the pranks. And if you've ever worked surveillance, it's nothing like that.
That's a common answer, though. Beverly Hills Cop's a pretty common answer on here.
You know the old phrase, "Go ahead and make my day." Yeah. That's kind of I think that's been out there for a while. So. Yep. Anyway, and what's my favorite drink?
Favorite cop car, and then favorite drink of choice.
Favorite cop car is probably gonna be now the Chevy Tahoe. Like I said, we got new cars now, but the Crown Vic was outstanding. Yes. We could beat those Crown Vics in the ground, run them, high speed chases, whatever.
Workhorse.
And they were just good old workhorse engines. So it'd probably be a tie between the Chevy Tahoe and the Crown Vic.
Good picks.
Yes,
good
sir.
Picks.
Drink of
choice.
That'd be some type of bourbon, just any type.
Meat on a rock with Coke?
Either straight or old-fashioned.
There you go. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, yep. I can handle the old-fashioned.
Heck yeah.
And if the bourbon's free, it's even better.
That's right.
That's the best kind of old-fashioned.
I'm a little more on the newer school. I like End of Watch.
We just talked about that the other day. It's probably the best depicted law enforcement overall.
To see the culture and the sense of humor and how we manage with the job with the sick humor, and that's a great movie.
Yep, I like that one. Car, I think when they came out with the Dodge Charger with the Hemi, you could take the traction control off. That was pretty nice.
It's pretty fun. Wasn't a workhorse, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Drink of choice, whiskey Coke.
Not a bad choice. Not a bad choice. And just for everybody to understand, you guys reached out via email, I think, is how we communicated. So, this is a great example of having a good podcast, idea. So I want to thank you for reaching out and highlighting his mentor for so many years. And thank you, Jerry, for
Absolutely.
not only dedicating your career to those in Richardson, but being a good mentor for young officers across that area and across that region, because I guarantee you've had an impact. And so it's great to highlight stories like yours. And thank you for so many years of service with the the SWAT teams, and look forward to many, many more with Richardson PD.
And a lot of respect to you, man, for we all like to highlight ourselves, and cops and SWAT, we all like to think we're the machismo and we're the shit. Yep. And kudos to you for reaching out and wanting to highlight, show some respect to others. We could probably all use,
yep.
With a lot of other folks not appreciating what we do and valuing it, we could use a lot more folks that would like to highlight and show some love and respect to some of those that have paid their dues. Some cool of you to do, man.
Yep, well,
very, very cool.
Appreciate it. And Jerry's got some gifts coming too from the team. Got a plaque coming. I think he's getting a Sons of Liberty 300 Win Mag. And
unless that gets intercepted going through Garland.
So.
And I will say this too, probably the greatest award as a police officer, being a field training officer, SWAT officer, is when you see guys like Victor, guys you trained, developed, and he's exceeded every expectation and carried it. Being a sniper, just everything he's done, he's carried it to the next level.
Great.
So the hardest thing about leaving the team is leaving the team of brotherhood, but knowing it's a lot better than it was when I found it.
That's right.
And I mean, these guys are in good shape, and these new guys that are taking up, it's almost to the point, who wants to be a police officer anymore? Who wants to be a SWAT officer anymore, knowing you're putting yourselves in harm's way? But these guys do it, and they accept it, and they take on the responsibility. And these guys are self-educating. They're going out doing their own homework, and very, very impressive. So for me to step down, the team's in a good spot.
It's good to hear. It's good to hear. You got anything else, Big Dog?
Not at all. We got some upcoming dates. We've got FOP State Board meeting, spring board meeting coming up. We have Texas Peace Officer Memorial coming up.
Yep.
We've got Police Week coming up in May. Tmpa FOP Joint Conference, July 26th through 28th in Dallas. Love for you guys to come.
Yeah.
It's at Dallas Hyatt Regency Reunion Tower.
You got my number. Hook me up. Reach out to me, I guess is what it's.
A lot of dates going on. Lots of stuff going on.
Busy. We just had the Solana FOP poker tournament this past weekend. Shout out to National FOP President Patrick O's for flying down and not only hanging out with Solana FOP, but spending the night with our illustrious Executive Director Kevin Lawrence. And anyway, it means a lot for you guys to, or for you to come down and show support. So with that, I guess we're done.
That's all I got. Everybody, please take care out there. Stay safe. Check on your buddy. Call and check. Text. Don't text. Call and check on a buddy that you think may be going through something, because at some point we all are. Be safe out there. Call us if you need us.
Hit that subscribe button.
Where are you putting it?
I'm gonna put it right here.
Right there.
Right here in front of my cup.
Gotcha.
Hit the subscribe
Just
button.
don't put it down there where you put your socks.
Yep. Comment, like, and man, we guys appreciate you. So God bless you, and as always, may God bless Texas. We're out.